Hello, world, and welcome to episode 6 of our 3FL podcast, centered around faith, family, fitness, love, loyalty, and leadership. I'm your host, Tyler Friend, and today we have a very special guest. So before I introduce her, I just want to say that, every time that I see her with her family, her kids are very well behaved, number one, but you could tell that they really, really, really care about their mother. And it's just a great thing to see, Alejandra Arango. So I want to tell you a little about her. She actually is somebody that serves in the dark, so to speak. She works at Interfaith, volunteers her time there. And then she also does life coaching and helps people in multiple different ways there. But overall, I just wanted to kind of introduce her and just hear more about her story on how everything came about.
So I'm Alejandra Arango. I'm Colombian. I moved here 18 years ago with my youngest daughter, Micaela. Right now she's at Penn State in college, so it's a huge thing for us. Mm-hmm. And then I have 2 more kids, Carlos, that you know him, and Isabella, that's the youngest. And I have my husband, and we love to be here. And this journey, moving here, changed our lives. So I'm glad that you make this possible.
And that's the thing is whenever I see people, right, and I see, because eyes are the window to the soul, and somebody that's alive and somebody that, you could see strength in them and you could tell that they've been through something, and it's just like, that story is very powerful. And I know there's somebody on the opposite side of this screen here that can really probably, see some insight or get some type of hope, So I wanted to just understand more about the how you ended up coming here and what that looked like, the transition, and then how you guys kind of made a way in America.
So you don't choose the way you born. That is correct. Mm-hmm. Well, my English is not perfect, but
you can't choose the way that you grew up.
But you can choose the life that you want to have. So that is what I did, and I have 3 kids. So I think that you can change the world. Maybe you cannot go and be a politician or the president, but you can start with what you have, your family. So my main goal when I moved here was if I have children, I want to change the world by them, using them.
Using them as instrument.
Yes. So for us, values are the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And values depends of you. It's not a specific, because moral and ethics is something, but your values are your own. And your family has your own,
core values.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I live my life using values in everything that I do.
So you make sure that no matter, you're intentional, and this is what you do is you teach your kids this because you want them to be an instrument to shape the world or to change the world, but you got to make sure that you teach them that it's intentional to always have values in the center of everything that you do.
Everything.
So basically it's just if it doesn't serve a purpose based around the values that you have, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. And
yes.
you made sure you taught your kids that at a very young age.
Yeah, so going to my story, my childhood, I grew in I don't know how to say it, but my mom was so young when she got married with my dad. She was 16 years, and my dad was 19. So my dad started to go to the wrong path, very bad path, and he was killed when I was 7. But it's hard because for me, how can you explain to your children or you that he was my hero, but when I grow, now that I'm an adult, I said he did very wrong things in a wrong way. So I wanted to change that. When I'm, I don't know how to say, my English is not that good, but I want my kids when I'm older to remember me as a good person, somebody who brings like the best for everybody, not just for them, for everybody, like a good example.
So, at a young age, you looked up to your father.
Yeah. Well, for a short period because I was 7, but yes.
But then, like later on, whenever you really started to grow up and see life for what it was for, you realized that he didn't necessarily provide the best example for you.
Yeah, but I thought that he was the best.
He was in the moment
because it was my dad, and I love him, and my memories are amazing with him because he did everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, in a bigger view, like if I see like the whole thing, it wasn't the best things. But I don't blame him. He did what he just knew it, or he didn't know enough about things that I know today because he was very young.
Yeah, very young. Yeah.
But that's why I'm so with values and giving example and doing everything to be if you remember me, I want you to remember good things. I help you, I smile you, I say hi.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be oh, she paid my rent. No. But maybe small things that are very big.
And I can say that you do have really good energy every time you interact with people and things like that. So that's obviously a very good example that you do portray.
Thank you.
And I understand how and I'm just trying to live in your dad's shoes for a minute. 19 years old, has a family
in Colombia.
In Colombia, where and I've been to Colombia. There's a lot of danger and
Yeah, but right now it's different. But back then
it was totally different.
Yes.
So your influence of your peers and the area that you grew up in does kind of create a product of your environment.
Yes.
So even though he loved you and he did everything that a father could for you, that's why y'all had a great relationship. But then from the outside looking in, from a bigger perspective, you realized that it wasn't necessarily the right way to live. And then that's when you came over here, you started to see that now. You started to
I can create.
really, really, really change your family's future for generations to come.
Yes.
And that is amazing, So tell us a little bit more about your story. I'm just interested to hear.
So then, even that I was in Colombia and surrounded by people, everything for us was normal. So, but it wasn't. But I didn't know because by that time, everything that I was involved, my life. So let me give you something little, but it's huge. So my dad was a pilot. He has his own plane. So he was oh, let's have lunch in another city on the beach. So we just take the plane and go and eat lunch and then come back. So for me, that was my life. And it's amazing. We have farms. We invite the whole family. We spend a lot of time together, but we spend a lot of money. But I didn't know anything about how was that, built.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was killed, and I stayed with my mom. My mom was so young. She started to drink a lot, and I have to grow by myself, with her, but she was young.
She wasn't present.
Yes.
She couldn't handle
physically, but she has to handle a lot of situations. They try to kill us twice because of the money. So it was hard, moving all the time, changing schools every 6 months. So it was hard, but it was my reality in that point. Yeah. I didn't know that there were different...
Normal.
Yes,
it's normal for
that
you.
Is normal. Moving. They just grabbed me from school and moving to another city, to another school. So for me, making plans was impossible. And even recently, that's not correct.
Recently.
Right? Recently, planning a vacation, it was hard because I didn't have that. I never, it was you cannot plan because you don't know what is coming.
So planning for your future was difficult as well.
That's why at the beginning I said our biggest accomplishment is Mika starting in a college. So maybe for another family it's like normal because they have like 4 generations of people like, but for us it's huge because at the end we move here because of security.
For a new life.
So I wanted to create a real like new life. They don't know they know something about our story, but not like that deep. But I want them to know that they have a past, but because we don't want to make those mistakes, that's why we're here. And we want to change. And we want to give others what we learn. Because I know that many people is having different story. We don't know when we cross and we say hi, we don't know the life of the other. What is happening in his past or her past or in his reality.
Mm-hmm.
So because I know that, that's why I try to give and I try to make sure that every step that I give has a message for everybody. Like only hi, good morning with my smile. Oh, you have somebody here that cares, that look at you and say hi. Because I don't know your story. I don't know what is happening in your life.
So it's always good to make sure that whenever, and just walk with love in your heart on a daily basis. It's crazy because I'm hearing your story and I'm understanding like there's a couple instances and it's not the same story, but it's like my dad passed away when I was 1. You know, I didn't have the right example growing up when I was a kid, and it's to make it on the opposite side, and it's the same for you. And obviously I'm younger than, you know, what you're going through. And but what I'm saying is there's still pain and trauma, and that stuff doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. And you have to learn to live and grow through it, because you have people that ultimately are going to be looking up to you one day. Mm-hmm. And you can't let the same circumstance keep you bound to the same situation in life that the rest of your families went through. And it's crazy to hear that, because it's like you're a walking miracle, you know, for you to be able to come out and then have a glorious life here. And it's blind faith was coming to the country. Like there wasn't somebody on the opposite end saying, hey, I got a great life for you waiting over here. No. It's like it could have been the most terrible thing you could have did, right? Yes. But to see this now is just to see all the stuff that you guys have, I guess you would say, accumulated together as a family.
Yes, but do you know what is very important to say, that I know that many people has problems like with their economy and their money when they're little. Oh, we struggle, we couldn't do this, we couldn't. And I have the opposite problem. I have excess of everything.
Every single thing.
But it's not healthy either.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what polarity you go, none of them is perfect. So, if I were a millionaire, if I had this, my life, no, it's not about that.
There's problems around every corner, no matter what.
But when you realize that, from my position, I can see like how can I help, showing that even that my story wasn't about struggling with this. I have another struggle. I didn't have like my mom like present. I didn't have that example. I didn't have my dad. We were surrounded with people that wasn't good. So it's hard. Each life is different, each situation. So it's easier to judge and say you, me, but you don't know what is behind.
Yeah, and I think that, and that's why as humans we're supposed to kind of live a life, I would say, more in connection, right? And it seems like, you know, and you can probably relate to this as well. It's like, well, once you go through certain things and you understand what abandonment might feel like, or you understand what you know, not being loved feels like for a minute, or you understand what, like, you know, your pain that you go through, and whenever you talk to a specific individual and you understand, you see that person, and then all of a sudden you just feel that pain, that same initial pain of somebody in your heart. And then you're like, you understand at that point, like, this person, I'm supposed to help them. And it seems like, and I know, and we're going to jump into more, like, I know you're a life coach as well. And obviously there's some passion that goes behind that. But tell me a little bit about, like, you know, the people that you work with on a regular basis, or some success stories that you might have seen.
So I work more with women, but in Spanish.
Yeah.
So you can change somebody's life, like a woman's life, just starting with their body. So you think, oh, but their body is not going to change their job or their life, their relationship. But yes,
It is.
because everything is connected. So you start with one issue or think that oh, I have this situation, and then you start to change a lot of stuff, like, because everything is connected. Your mind works like that. You change one thing and the whole system change, but you don't notice that. So maybe you start, like, changing their behaviors with food. Like, oh, okay, let's organize this, create new habits. And you think, oh, but that is not. But if you can achieve this, maybe you can start thinking different with another thing. Oh, I can start. It's not only like my self-esteem that changed because I changed my food and exercise, or my body start to change. That is one part. But the other one, you can start to teach your brain how to work. Oh, if I do this and I can achieve this, then I can dream about this and start to work for this and wait for the result.
Yeah.
So people think that change is just one thing, or you have to, like, create a big thing. No, you can start from zero. And those changes last more because they're small. They're small. So you start to build
over time.
But when you say, I want, like, a big house, that's fine. That's your dream. But I'm not going to say, oh, just spend your whole life working, working to pay that house. No, we can start with the small things, and then in the future you can have your house, or you change your mind in that process because you say, oh, that is not important to have a big house. I want a nice family that we can sit together in a table. So I start to change their mindset, because everything that we want, I want a lot of money. Why? What are you going to do with that?
And it seems like what you do is you take the things that are, like, external for people.
Yes.
And you really get them to understand, and it's internal.
Yes.
Are the important things.
So you asked me about a specific case of success, and somebody that is from Ocala, Angelica. She was gym. She goes to the gym, and I met her, like, I don't remember, maybe 4 years ago. We start with the body. We start to change. She never had a job. She never thought about study, like college, because in her mind she was like, oh, I can't. This is not for me. I cannot be more than a week in a job. I quit. So I said, okay, let's start. So we start to work with her body, her food, and I told her, like, you have to give your body what the body needs to work, like vitamins, minerals, like everything that you need. And sometimes you don't have enough minerals, so your brain is not working. So
Deficient.
you say, I'm depressed, but maybe you're not feeding your body the way that.
The right nutrients. Yeah.
So we start to work with that, and then she started to study, and she finished college.
Then
So
she feels achieved a little bit.
So she started
she
to
get a small goal.
Yes.
You
So she
accomplish
was
that.
like, oh, this is the first time that I can handle, like, going to a place and stay and not bore and leave it and quit. So she started to see that she can change her life, but it's not me. I told her, it's not me, it's you, because you want it. You start to do the things because you want it, and I'm just an instrument to help you see the greatness that you have inside.
Evidence.
It's not me. It's not the food. It's not the gym. It's you. But you use all those tools like to change your life. So then you can dream in different things. So I can have my car. So she changed her car. She started to do things like that she wanted, the way that. So that is my how do you say, like my salary, like my, when people change their lives, like that.
That's where you feel fulfilled.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like paying money. That's my money.
Yeah, that's when you get your fulfillment out of
Yes.
life. And it's funny because I always say, like, the real way to get a pay is for me, right? It's time plus energy. You're going to have to put time and energy into something, but then if you multiply it by the amount of lives that you change, that's when you get the financial success, so to speak, that you want. I know you said something that was like a really, really, really important thing, and it was all about you changed the person, you helped the person understand that it has everything to do with mental health first. So you get the food that takes and because the food that you eat and the stuff that you put in your body ultimately determines how you make it feel. So you're feeding your brain when you don't have a good diet and you don't put the right nutrients and supplements in your body. You're treating your brain to respond and act in a specific way, and that becomes the new normal until you become the change that you wish to see, and then you start eating better, and then after that, like, you have a little bit more focus. You're able to kind of like be happier through your days, and that takes you to a point to where you can stay consistent in something, and then in staying consistent in something, you feel you achieve something, and then the doors open after that. Like, oh my goodness. And then that's when the real magic happens, is whenever you're able to just encourage and help them. I'm like a coach at heart, so run the ball all the way down the field is what I say. So being able to really, and that's like a big thing for me, is everybody that I work with and stuff is they just need a coach. You know, everybody has a good heart for the most part. Everybody wants to become somebody, but they just don't know how to get there. And the same thing is the people that you work with.
But I think that the main thing of a coach is asking smart questions, like magical questions. That is like the main thing, because maybe you know how to do things, and maybe I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not an athletic coach. But I'm a coach, so I know how to. Even that I don't know the topic, like a specific, I know how to ask questions.
Ask the right questions.
But you have the answer, not me.
To bridge the gap, to figure out how to ask more questions.
Like to open their minds and have more options.
What I'm saying is, you could not know nobody at all and sit down with them for about 15 minutes and get them to understand and see a bigger picture or bigger vision just by asking a few questions and spending some time with somebody.
Yeah, the language is very important. Like, the way that you talk shows who you are. So if you say, oh, everybody is blah, 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 blah. So it's your belief. It's not true. It's your belief.
It's how you view the world.
So I start to ask, who's everybody? Even with my children. So everybody lost the test. Who's everybody?
Me
and two more and my friends, and because they test. So it's not everybody, it's you.
So then that's when you're able to put it on there.
Why? What happened? And I start to ask questions about it. I'm not worried about the grade. I'm worried about your mentality, that you prefer to use others, not take responsibilities of you.
So you ask questions to be able to coach behaviors.
Yes.
Because the behaviors are ultimately what determine the success or the outcome of the whole situation.
Yes. But my main thing in coaching is identity.
That's the biggest thing.
So you can change your I don't know, the people that you talk to, you cannot change those things if you don't change your identity. Because in the pyramid,
yes.
The identity is higher and behavior, values, beliefs are lower. So you cannot change those things going lower, and that you have to go higher. And higher is your identity, and then your fulfillment is the highest. So your relation with God, or your main mission, like in your life, your purpose. So you cannot change those things until you change those things higher.
Yeah.
So if you want to change your beliefs, you have to go to your identity. So you can change your friends, you cannot go into another place, because there you're going to join friends like the other ones, even that there's a different place. But if you change your identity, you start to go and, oh, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is how I behave, this is my dream person. Like, oh, so I tell them, imagine how they dress, how they talk, what food they eat, that person that you dream that you want to become. And then you say, oh, this doesn't fit in that. This group of friends doesn't fit in that. So you change your whole identity and you change your whole life. And if we go higher, if you change your purpose, or you know, not change, but at least know your purpose, you can change your whole life, because you change who you are, and then you change your beliefs, your values, your behavior, your people that you are with.
And I always say that's the craziest thing that you brought that up, is I always try to get people to understand that the world is so lost and confused, and they're full of doubt and fear, right? And if they knew who they really were, they wouldn't let those things bound them. They're lost, and they don't know that their identity is really in Christ. And that's at the very top, right? But once you understand that, and then you're able to see and get the vision of the example that you're supposed to be. And that's the same for me, is what I ask people, is like, who do you want to become? If you were supposed to be the example in the world, what would that look like? Mm-hmm. And then the question is are you living to that standard? Are you living to that standard, or do you go home at night, you still have some gas left in the tank, you don't give it all you got, you're 80-20 in it, 60-40 in it through life, or you lay down in bed at night, you go right to sleep because you're freaking tired, you gave it everything you got. Every day that you wake up, do you know that there's a calling on your life? Mm-hmm. And there's one person trying to help feed that calling and bring it to life, and then there's somebody else that's trying to take it from you. And then whenever you understand that, you'll know how to navigate, because your identity serves you. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't serve you, then you probably shouldn't be around it, but it's still going to be there because it's there to tempt you. God always asks me, he says, Tyler, you want a great life. You want this glorious life that I continue to show you. What do you want to do to get it? Are you willing to change everything, you know? And the question is yes. It's every time it's yes.
Do you know what is funny about that? That, as you say, we don't know what we want, but we don't know the meaning of things. So you say, oh, God asked me if I want a good life or a great life. What does it mean great? Do you know? No, so the people doesn't know. Yeah. So, I want to be happy. No. What does it mean?
That's small.
What does it mean happy? Because happy for you maybe is sitting in your house, like, I don't know, reading, praying. But maybe for me is like eating together with my family. Yeah. So you have to know what you want before you want to become that person that want that. So
it starts with a thought.
So yes,
it starts with the thought.
And that's why when I said language, I don't know if that is the correct word in English, but the way that you talk, the words that you use, you have to like grow your vocabulary.
Your vocabulary, yes.
So you have not. So if I said, "Oh, what are my values?" and the people said, "Happy. I want to be happy."
Elaborate. Please
what is
elaborate.
That?
Yeah.
That is nothing.
What does happy look like to you?
So what makes you happy?
Yeah.
Oh, when I go with my dog and hug, okay, that is happiness for you. So when you think about happiness, now you don't think about that word that doesn't have a meaning.
Yeah.
Or is imaginary or something that Ale said or Tyler said. No, it's something that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is knowing what you want, but like when you shred steak, like by pieces, like small pieces. So I start with that. So when you said something, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? Why? So it's a belief. It's something that you learn because your family, everybody wanted you to, or it's something that you really want from your heart. What are you going?
Are you asking me?
No.
Okay.
That is what I do.
You could. Yeah, you could. But I understand all the way. So I will answer it. For me, is having a, obviously the business well, right? But then not just having a good business, being able to go home at night and have, my family believe in me, right? Being able to spend time with my kids and us look back on things and then be able to understand like where we came from, right? And being able to see that we're built we have a strong foundation, you have a strong father, right? And for them to be able to look up to me, but I have to, in order to do that, like I have to ultimately put in a lot of work. It's not like, it just comes easy, and aside from that, like I want people to remember me. My last name is Friend, right? So I want people to remember me as somebody that always gave, somebody that loved people at a high capacity. And overall, at the end of the day, like there was nobody that could have said like he always gave it all he got. There's nobody that could ever say for me that like he got handout, because that wasn't for me either. Mm-hmm. But then ultimately just saying that like, he's a loving person, right? Just he loved everybody, and to be able to have that, because you write your eulogy, right? Mm-hmm. That dash is who you are, Mm-hmm. The day you're born and the day you die. Those are two things, but the day life changes forever and then you go to live all in, like that's the real time that you really get to live. I feel like I woke up at age 28. I was at the hospital. God had given me, he had sat me down for a little bit, and I was able to see that I was really leaving a lot on the table for me, and whenever I was able to see, that for what it was worth, and I started to like really got into the self-development and coaching space and like started buying courses and things like that. And that's when I was able to be revealed like the good life, that people live a one-dimensional life in most cases. They stress out about work when they go home, and then because they're not present there, their wife and their family is all out of whack. So that way when they go back to work, the only thing they're stressing about is their family. And they don't have a relationship with God, they don't have their health, and to be able to really, really, have it all, you got to have, the foundation, which is what life's about, overall. So you can ask me any questions that you want, Alejandra. It's an open book right now.
No, you can ask me whatever you want to.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I'm older than you, so
yeah.
I have a lot of
experience. Yeah. So what do you think your biggest accomplishment is?
Knowing myself.
Besides Michaela, going to Penn State.
No, the first one is knowing myself.
Yeah.
Because when we moved here,
lost. You were lost.
Yes. Well, we were lost, but then we start to grow. We start to understand the system, how it works. So start to be like a full-time mom, and I cook. I'm volunteer at the school. I'm doing everything for everybody. My husband, I cook. Everything is ready. But what about me? So I had everything, but nothing.
But you didn't have
nothing,
yeah.
Because I didn't have me. I didn't know who I was. So then I start to say, I have to figure out this, why I'm feeling, because the people say, oh, if you're not grateful because you have everything. You have a family, everybody is healthy, you have whatever you want, your house, your car, you can go to the gym, you can cook whatever you want, so you have the perfect life.
But you feel like you don't bring value to anything.
But I was like...
Because you put yourself last.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I was like, but I didn't know that I didn't know myself. Like I was like, I don't know what is happening. So I start to study. I have to figure out. So I love to read. I read a lot. So I start to read and pay courses too, and and coaching but I didn't do it because I wanted to help others. I wanted to figure
Find
out
yourself.
what was happening. No, I didn't know about that time that I find myself. So I start to study and I start to understand, oh, the problem is not outside. It's not the weather, it's not my husband, it's not the kids, it's me. It's not my past, because we can blame my past. Oh, she didn't have the resources.
You can be victim if you want
yes.
to. Yeah.
So, but that
But you're
time
not.
I was a victim, like, oh, everything, why? Why is this happening? Well, because I'm not responsible of myself. It's easier to blame everybody, but not like you are in charge. So I start to understand that, and my life changed. So I was in love of coaching, and I studied something in English, I don't know the word, but it's bio-neural emotions. So it's a whole bio-neural emotions. So it's a whole word in Spanish, bio-neuroemoción. So it's a whole word. So I that was so cool. It's from Spain, like an institute from Spain. So I learned a lot about that, like not being a victim and be responsible of and a master of your life.
Of your life, yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I start to talk to my kids or another parents, and I start to notice when they were talking what their beliefs. So from there, that's when I start coaching.
I think they call that in here, it's cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
It's different because he had like his own thing.
Oh, so he had his own.
Yes, like.
So it's so say it again.
In Spanish, bio-neuroemoción, bio-neural emotions.
Bio-neural emotions. I'm gonna study that.
It's cool.
I'm a psychology guy, so I love that, looking into that, and it's just it's crazy because if you can, and I always try to look at, and if you can just change the way somebody thinks, you can change the psychology of the person, you can change their life. And it's amazing just to understand, like, that's a superpower.
It
to
is.
help people.
But it's hard. It's superpower, but at the beginning you feel like, what is she doing? What is she thinking? What is she, or what is he? His beliefs like cover himself. So it's hard when you start to see things that before were normal. So at the beginning it's hard because you want to change. I want you to say, oh, you're telling me this, but that is a belief. It's not true. It's something that you think that is true, but it's not.
But you can't tell them that.
But you cannot change his life or her life until they want it. So it's not you cannot go like, oh, I'm so good, I want to change everybody. At the beginning, I wanted to change everybody's life. Like, it's easier. Like, go and say, what did you say? Repeat again, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
No, that is not the way to do it. You have to understand and be more
patient
and have compassion with the whole life that person has. Maybe it's not the moment, or maybe there's another way for him to understand and to change his life. So
you're just the one planting the seed. You've got to plant the seed. It might not happen that day.
Yes.
It might not happen in the same month. But there's going to be that 6 week that went by, and then that moment that happened, and then they're going to remember the conversation that they had with you.
But what you can do, you can let them know that you're there. Maybe not today, they don't need you today, but in the future, in 1 month, in 1 year, in 6 years, 10, you're there.
You're there.
And whenever you want, come and I listen. But you cannot force change.
Mm-hmm.
When you force is when you have like bad results, because it's not something that is from their hearts. They don't understand why they're changing. So they come back to their behaviors, or they come back to their relations, bad relations. So you cannot force. They have to understand why they want to change.
Let me ask you, do you think that after change happens, the moment that change happens after that, obviously because there's like a dead silence for a long, long time, in most cases, and then the change happens, And then if they're able to capitalize on that change fast enough, they catapult and go in the direction that they're supposed to. Do you see that whenever you coach?
Let me use an
Angelica.
No.
For an example?
Let me use an example of something so you can understand how our brains works. So imagine that we have a grass, like a green grass, and you have a path to cross to the river. So every time that you want to go to the river, you use that path. So that path in certain moment, the grass is not going to grow in that path. So you see the path and you cross to the river. So that is the way that we work. Every time we have everything in our brains, the way that we do everything.
It's the new hardwire.
That's
new, yeah.
No, that is the old one. So you use the same path. You say the same words, you go the same way to your work, you react the same way. So when we start to think, I want to do something different, we start to create new paths to go to the river. So when people start to change, they're using another path. But at the beginning, those paths are grass. So they have to step more, so the grass is not going to grow later. But right now you have grass. But the path that you use is still there.
It's still there.
But
the initial thought, take this path.
Yes.
Right?
But at the beginning, you use this one, but you come back to the old one, right? Or you start in the old one, and then you move when you realize that you don't want to do this path, right? But what happened if you start moving to other paths and not using this one? The grass is going to grow again in that one. So now you're not using it, but it doesn't mean that the path is not there. In the future, if you keep coming back to this one, you're going to go to the same path. So that's why it's so important to understand that path is there. It's part of our lives. It doesn't matter what happened in the past, it's there. We're not going to eliminate because it's part of us.
You got to accept that. That's the path.
Yes, that's it. But use the other ones. And when you go to this one in one moment, move, go out. Let me give you another example, more real. So I'm doing facial yoga because I don't want to use Botox. So I'm doing my exercises for my face at night, but it's not something that I'm used to because I go to work out my body, but never my face.
Yeah.
So the lady who taught that, she said that our posture is very important. And my posture usually is like this. So I was like, my double chin. So she was like, no, you have to always keep straight. So I feel like it's not normal because I'm not used to have my shoulders back. And at the beginning, it was so hard but right now I'm driving and I start to feel like my body, and I'm like,
now you're all of a sudden.
So I'm using
another path.
Both right now because sometimes I'm like that, and then I move back and I'm straight.
Yeah.
So I don't know when I'm going to be straight and I'm not going to feel it. It's part of me. But if I forgot everything, I stop doing facial yoga and start to do Botox, I'm going back to my posture. So I'm going to lose all those paths that I create.
So, and it starts with awareness, right?
Awareness.
That there's more paths than just this one down the straight.
Yes.
And it's all about how you pave the way and create the path past that point.
Yes. But not being like, I'm using this path. No, it's part of you. It was in you for your whole life. So you're trying to create, don't be like that tough to you. Like
that, and it's like you could have grew up.
Yes.
Your family could have grew up. Generation. This path could be paved. This path could almost be paved.
Yes.
It might not even be grass anymore for most people. But that doesn't mean you can't take a different route.
But you have to want it.
You have to want it.
Like when you want to win a championship or something.
Yeah.
I want my team to win. like that. You have to be passionate about yourself. Oh, I want to do something different.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you have to have something behind. Like, I want my children to know that there's a different way to do things. So I'm passionate about that.
Exactly. And it's like, and it's almost for most athletes, you train and you have an intensity with how you do things in life. And it's like, it's all for one moment, and I think the same thing it's for your family, right? It's like you go through life, and that moment is when you're gone. You go through life and you train and you teach and you coach and you have all these things with a level of intensity, so that when you leave, your family remembers you, right?
And another thing, I talk to imagine if you were talking in Spanish. So, okay, I'm a coach. So I'm going to be with you, like, all the time. Like my children, I'm going to be there. But that is not what I want. I want them to have the tools, and in one point I'm going to disappear. Like the heroes, I don't know the name in English. Like there's a very famous book that all the movies are like based on that.
Talking about DC Comics and Marvel?
No, it's in English, Heroes Path. I don't know. Well, I'll let you know the name. So in one point, so the warrior goes and has to fight with dragons and with the master.
Oh,
like,
the hero's path.
Yes. Okay.
I see
So
what you're
that's the
saying.
word. Okay.
Yeah.
But in one point, the master or the coach is not there. You have to do it by yourself. And you have to figure out with all the knowledge that you have how to do it. Maybe you can do it right, or maybe you feel bad and you're doing wrong, but then you understand because you have everything in your mind. So I want everybody, I talk about my children, but everybody to understand that in one point I have to disappear and you have to do it. And you can call me, I did this and this happened or not. So I'm doing that with my daughter that is in Penn State, because everybody was like, how are you going to do it? You always cook, you did everything.
She'll figure it out.
I was so happy for her. Like, I'm not sad. Well, I'm so happy because she's going to start to live her life. Now she passed the dragons and everything, and she has to see their own dragons.
Yeah.
And figure it out.
But she's seen
And
you.
she has to learn.
Yeah.
If she feels sad, if she is worried, she has to figure out how to get out of that sooner. Like, that's sooner. So, and she's so good. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like so proud of my coaching with my daughter. Like, I see her life and like, I did what I want to change the world. She's going to change the world because of her values and who she is. So with my clients, it's the same. When I see that I don't have to be there all the time, that is when you feel like, I did it.
And that's when yes. And that's when
that
you get
is
to
the
fulfillment.
real magic. So we can change the world one person at a time.
So listen, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. It's been actually very, 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 very fun. A lot of super insightful. You're very passionate, but you really have a lot of really good information. And I love the way you tell stories. I'm a storyteller type of person. Like, I love stories, and I was actually gonna bring it up, but then you started doing it. I'm like, I don't have to cue her. So on the opposite side of that screen, I do want to thank you for watching the 3FL podcast centered around faith, family, fitness, love, loyalty, and leadership. If there's anything that stuck out to you, give us a like, comment, share with somebody that is maybe going through something that could benefit from this right now. I love all the support, everything that you guys do for me. I hope you guys have a very special day, and remember to stay in tune. We're out.
Bye.